folks. It's a Monday morning, and a lot is going on in the world. So we're going to see what's happening in the world, see if any of the panelists show up, and all along those lines. But definitely, a lot is happening in the world, and of course, we're always good to have conversations with what is happening around the globe and all in that space. So always some amazing things happening, including some things that are not all that amazing, because definitely a lot of people have been talking about the attack that happened in Israel, and videos are showing new details on how Hamas launched a surprise assault on Israel. More than 1,000 are dead after the Hamas attack and the Israel response. And definitely a lot of folks are talking about that, and are definitely having conversations around that attack and along those lines. So we've definitely got a lot of those things going on. But I see that the man with the plan, Steve Rao, is in the house, so I'll get to turn it over to him, and we'll see if any other of the panelists show up as well. So I'll turn it over to Steve, since he's already in the house and all along those lines. So how are you doing, Steve? Glad to hear you're here. I was just talking a little bit about the
Yeah,
initial news that I got to.
yeah,
It was just that first news story, which was about the attack on Israel
yeah.
and
We're
how
going to spend
follow.
it with, yeah, actually, I'm going to open up with that. I apologize for being late, folks. And for the next few weeks or months, I'm going to be out of pocket quite a bit, hopefully resuming more time on the show towards the beginning of the new year. But as the host, still want to come in today. Welcome to World Edition. We welcome you from wherever in the world or country you're in. And today we are going to be talking and hopefully reaching out to experts about the war in Israel now. Hamas has attacked Israel, hundreds kidnapped, killed, and now today over 1,100 dead, um, over 2,500 Palestinians injured, 700 Israelis, many civilians, um, Palestinians, and Prime Minister, the Premier of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, has declared war on Hamas. We know that there's so many things to talk about. I got to be honest with you, as a political analyst and a radio analyst host, I really haven't really kept much up on the Middle East as I probably should have. So I'm actually going to try to get some books on the Middle East, beef up my knowledge on this area, and as we begin the show today, we pray for Israel. We pray for peace. We know former President Carter is still alive at 99 or almost 100 years of age, and he negotiated the Camp David Accords. We know President Obama had been working on peace towards the Middle East, and we've had attempts in the past to get this area of the world more stable. But something seems to have turned awry, and we don't know whether this is going to affect the presidential elections. Republicans saying that President Biden has been weak on Iran, and that even though we're freezing billions of dollars to Iran, we haven't done it yet. They asked Secretary Blinken that on the question. He didn't really answer the question, but everyone's like, "Well, Iran has ties to Hamas. How do we do that? What do we deal with that?" And then the Palestinians, many rallies and vigils going on in North Carolina and around the country. But there's also Palestinian rallies saying that they've been mistreated, and now many are being displaced from the Gaza Strip once again because the Prime Minister of Israel is saying you've got to get out because they're bombing away. And so I'm going to just quit rambling on here, but the fact of the matter is this makes the world an even more dangerous place. Um, as of now, I've not heard anything that's going to affect the security of the United States of America, but all eyes are watching right now on Israel and the Middle East and the war that has been declared on Hamas. So while we are engaging in a war with Ukraine and Russia, we now have another part of the world engaging a war. And so, Mark, this is a very, very scary time for our world. Hopefully, all of us can share some insights and educate each other. I certainly do not know enough about this part of the world or haven't been keeping up with it as much. I tend to focus more on technology, AI, immigration, India, Europe, and just for some reason don't really study. So my wife and I were talking about getting some books about what started this conflict, which goes back as far as 1973, even sooner. And what you're going to hear different sides of the story from each side. But why has peace been so hard in this region? And at the end of the day, how does this affect our economy? How does it affect the presidential race? Uh, Giving Donald Trump or whoever's the nominee a chance to say that Biden has been responsible for this. I don't really see the connection there, but it's a tough situation, and so let's talk about that today. I'm here till about 10:30.
No,
Let's talk.
no, definitely we can talk about that. And like I said, some people may argue that it goes all the way back to the end of World War II when Israel was declared a state and given that country and everything as the folks were trying to go into that area and all along those lines. So, like I said, that is a whole nother conversation as to whether that is the case or not the case. But I do know that that is a argument that some folks may make and others may not make. I definitely knew some people that were involved in Palestinian rights, including some that were here. And I actually need to reach out to them and see if they are still around and all along those lines, because they were part of when I was involved with Occupy and all along those lines. So I'll see if they're still around and also reach out to some folks that are on both sides of the discussion, both from Israel and from Palestine, and all in that kind of way. I do see that there was another threat from another organization, because it's not just Hamas, but apparently Hezbollah also issued a threat to Israel, and definitely the Israeli military leader launches an artillery strike on Lebanon after shots were fired on their position, and the Israeli military says that they are deploying against possible infiltration from Lebanon. And I know that oftentimes when we talk about Ukraine and Russia, we also talk about the Chinese involvement with that, and that has been part of the conversation even in this, because apparently Senate Majority Leader Schumer was calling on China to support Israel, and he actually confronted Xi on his initial statements around the Israel and Hamas conflict and all along those ways. And he said that he was very disappointed, and he criticized China for not supporting Israel after those attacks. And there have been some of the people even on the considered the progressive side of the Congress that have gotten some flack because they were said that they were not coming out strong enough in their condemnation of the attack. So that is something else that I have seen on social media where folks have gone against definitely AOC and some of the other members of what is sometimes known as the squad, including the gentleman that was recently involved in the fire incident and all along those lines. And it wasn't that they didn't come out against the attack, it's just that they felt that it wasn't strong enough and all in that kind of way. So yeah, it's definitely some hard times. As a matter of fact, Israel and Netanyahu is threatening to turn Gaza into a deserted island and all along those lines. So definitely they are saying people in Gaza are facing severe, drastic conditions as that Israeli airstrike continues. And definitely they're saying that there are a lot of folks that are scared without food and no place to go. And that's what you were talking about, as thousands are fleeing the Gaza area and all along those lines. But like I said, it'll be interesting to bring in some folks that are more knowledgeable than myself and yourself and everything. I will bring in some of our regular panel and see their thoughts about this attack and just the world in general. There's some other things that are
And
happening
that's what I want
in
to
the
do.
news.
That's what I want to do today. Is I really want to use this as an opportunity to learn from you all, because this is a part of the world I don't really know enough about, and I think that it's yeah. So let's bring in the panel and let's talk about our discussion, and here it goes.
We'll see where it goes. Jacoby or Sasha or even Lee, any thoughts about this attack or just in general? We've also got Nick that is here as well, the founder of this particular network. And like Steve, I know certain things about it, and there are certain things about what has happened in the history, but don't know nearly as much as some of you other folks know, and all in this kind of way. As a matter of fact, there are some folks that are saying that the Kremlin media may use Israel to undermine the West Ukraine aid, because they may try to find a way, I guess, to derail some of the aid that is coming from the West and see if it'll go to Israel instead. So that is also some of that political jockeying that can go on, particularly in wars when you have more than one front and all along those lines. But like I said, I will defer to others that may have more expert knowledge and all along those lines. So definitely anybody that has thoughts, because definitely I even hear people that are talking about that prisoner swap for the 6 billion in the spotlight, and that's part of what I think people have been blaming Biden for, and all along those lines. But definitely, that is part of what was going on in that conversation. Even though I understand that it was money that was frozen, that was released, and all in that, so I don't know that it was actual trade the way that we usually think about it. But like I said, I would love to hear other folks' thoughts about it, and if they have any other thoughts, because definitely it seems like Nikki Haley slammed Blinken as irresponsible, saying that there was no link between the Israeli attack and the 6 billion released to Iran. But like I said, others may have other thoughts, and I'd love to hear them.
What does Nikki Haley know? I mean, does she have some knowledge that the rest of us don't have? And this is the problem with politicians. They spout things, but they don't have any evidence or support. As what's this guy? David Walker says, okay, show your sources that support your position. Oh, there aren't any. I just want to throw something out there. And it's the same thing with the dispute, obviously, between Hamas and Israel. What is the dispute about? We haven't heard yet. I listen to the media all day. We know people got
killed. It doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. Okay.
Doesn't matter what happened?
Absolutely.
We're talking about the terrorism. Do you want to explain to the audience what they did?
All facts matter. All facts matter. Okay. And the thing is, when you don't know what the dispute is about, it's really hard to pass judgment on either side. And right now, the media.
Why do we have this category called war crimes then?
You know, listen, all war is crime. Okay. So let's get off your high horse, Lee. Okay, so
do you explain what they did when they went in there with the women, the children, the babies in cages, at the kidnapping?
Lee, there's two sides to every story. I know judges
really?
only like to listen to one side. Yes, there is always. Have you ever been in a dispute? Have you ever been to court? There's always two sides to the story. There's not one side and everybody walks away and they all agree. Okay, there's another side to this story that we're not being told, and we're not being told the Hamas side of the story at all.
And that point is fair, Nick. That point is fair. But there is a line that you don't cross. And we have terrorism.
I'm not going to disagree with the act was terrorism. I mean, if you look at it from all those people partying, had nothing to do with the dispute between Hamas and Israel. Nothing to do. So that was definitely wrong. Okay, we got that. All right. But there's something going on overseas that we do not get the information from. The press doesn't deliver the information, and all we get is statements and innuendo, and Hamas is bad, and Israel is great, or Israel is bad, and Hamas is great. How can people make decisions off of stuff like that? You know, you want to know what is actually the dispute, rather than this guy's bad and this guy's good. Okay, and that's what we're going to hear from the press all week long. You will hear no facts at all. You'll just say, here, this is bad and this is good and this is good and this is bad. And there'll be more bad stuff that happens, and then nothing gets done. So we don't know what's going on. We're shut out from the information, and now you get to make decisions as to which side you like.
Okay, Mark, I just put it's less than 6 minutes. It's Cooper Anderson with Michael Oren. I think it's worthwhile for people to see the interview. It's less than 6 minutes.
Mark, do you know how to show the interview?
I was just going to say,
we'll keep the discussion going, and I'll look at possibly showing it definitely at some point or another.
I was just going to say, since I'm in between both Nick and Lee going back and forth over the same thing, I think what Nick is trying to say and what I'm gathering from it, and I think the agitation, I completely understand on Lee's point and where the attack the retaliation is coming from. But I think one of the things is war going to solve the issue, or are we just going to have more killing?
Yeah. No, unfortunately, that's a great point. But unfortunately, there are those people in this world, whether Iran, who just want Americans and Israelis dead, period. No discussion.
I get that. But what I am trying to get to is, and I think this is where Nick is coming from, are we just trying to attack the symptom rather than actually trying to attack the problem? Because if we don't understand what the problem is and we just come in guns a-blazing, are we creating more terrorism in the future?
Yeah. I mean, Netanyahu is a little bit of a wingnut. He goes, okay, I'm going to turn Gaza Strip into a desert. Now, wait a minute, moron. Not all those people in the Gaza Strip agree to what happened, okay? And so what he's saying is that I'll
Nick,
become
what
a
did we do
terrorist.
to Japan in World War II? What did we do with Japan with these bombs?
What
Was that
what
a good
the United
thing?
States do? We dropped the bombs on Japan. We did.
Those
Okay.
people weren't guilty of anything. Those were innocent civilians.
I agree. I totally agree. A
But
lot of
how
those
does
people
that
were
make
not
it
guilty of
right?
anything. And that was American terrorism 101 that shows that, hey, might makes right. Okay. Now on this channel, do we have to agree to that? Absolutely not. You know, there was a lot of people. So we don't have to agree with Netanyahu. By the way, it's genius. By the way, but that his statement that I'm going to turn Gaza Strip into a sea of glass or kill all the people, including innocent women and children. Lee, don't you call that a terrorist threat? Come on, let me hear.
I have a problem with that, except what I'm seeing now in the
Yeah.
news is the part I struggle with, Nick. The part I'm struggling with is I tend to agree with you. Okay, I don't believe 100% of Germans were Nazis. I don't believe 100% of people who live there are guilty. But the part I'm struggling with is what I'm seeing in the news now: the singing, the dancing, the cars, the honking, and stuff like that. Yay, yay! That's sickening to me.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, the thing is, and it's sickening to everybody, and it's sickening probably to some of the people, not all, on the Gaza Strip as well, because most people they just want to go along and get along, do their work, etc. Okay, they don't want to.
Question.
And you have
Question
Rashid
for Lee.
Talib.
Hold on a second. Question for Lee.
Okay, go on.
Question
by
for
the way,
Lee.
was
Hold on a second.
wrong.
I got a question for Lee. Was it sickening to you when those similar kind of protests were going on and there were celebrations of what was happening during apartheid? Because there were celebrations similar to this during apartheid, and there are some people that are making a comparison between what is going on in Israel and the apartheid of South Africa. Now, whether that is a fair comparison,
Apartheid of South Africa, apartheid of Israel.
Yeah, there's.
I don't see the comparison. You have members. You have Arab members of the Knesset. Yeah, you have Arabs living all over Israel. There's Israeli towns all over. They're citizens. I don't get it. It's no racial thing.
It doesn't have
No
to be
religious
racial.
thing.
There could be religious differences. There could be other differences. But I'm just saying that in terms of the fairness and in terms of the way of the treatment, I have heard comparisons. Now, whether those are fair comparisons or not, I'll have to bring in the people that are making.
You should look into that, whether they're fair or not.
Right.
And we can have a show when if you want, is Israel an apartheid state? And that's a fair question. You'll be amazed. I don't see an intelligent answer to it, though.
Yeah.
If anyone here has ever been there
Lee, something had to happen because for some reason there was go along, get along all the way until a couple days ago.
Okay, fine. Stop for a second. 1 second. Sasha's here. Sasha.
Yes.
Ukraine and Russia. What happened there? Is there any good side to what Russia did? Any excuse for what they did, their behavior?
I don't think that one should expect any good things from Russia, period. Not only regarding Ukraine, but regarding the rest of the world. Because if you think what Russia brings to the world, number one, weapons, number two, corruption, number three, prostitution, and number four, anything that you can think of which is negative, and there is no positives at all. Now, speaking about this, I can't figure out why you people call that Hamas-Israel a conflict. You call this a conflict? Are you out of your mind? You completely lost it, guys. First of all, Hamas is a terrorist organization recognized as such as united by United States, by England. Second, you're talking about innocent Palestinian people. Really? Who elected Hamas to be a government of Palestine? The innocent people. So Hamas is doing this heinous attack on Israel, killing well over 800 civilians, taking hostages, taking even one old lady was a Holocaust survivor. They took her as a hostage as well. And they're doing all these heinous acts as the government of Palestine, and at least in this place, Gaza. So Palestinians, each one of them who voted for Hamas to become their government body, they're all guilty just the same way as the Hamas who did all the killings and so on. So don't tell me that we have to listen both sides. Come on.
Okay, Sasha,
You're-
just a quick thing. Now, Lee, I think when you brought up the Russia invasion of Ukraine, that was a perfect explanation of what Nick was trying to get to. We understand the root cause of what's going on with Russia and Ukraine and how Russia is trying to invade Ukraine and take it over and, occupy, basically take over all of Ukraine. It's trying to bring back the USSR and all the other stuff. So we understand the root causes of there. We all agree Hamas is a terrorist organization. We all agree that what has been done, the terrorist attack, is bad. I think that's where we all agree. The issue is, I think what Nick was trying to get to is, that this just happened. What caused that action to happen? Because that's what he's trying to figure out, the trigger. So whatever that trigger could be might not be what had happened in the past. And I completely disagree with Sasha that, everybody in the U.S. didn't vote for Donald Trump. So saying that everybody in the U.S. is bad because they voted Donald Trump and put Donald Trump.
No. You're
So
very
using
important.
that as an example for the Palestinians, because there are some Palestinians that do not want this to happen because they know the repercussions that may come back on them. But the bully right now is
Jatovi, those
terrorist organization
Palestinians,
that has
they
that
live
control.
in work in Israel. They are part of Israeli community. They have very good rapport with Israelis, and they're like Lee, I think you mentioned that they are represented in Knesset, and they have normal life conditions. I've been in Israel about 4 years ago, and I met some Arabs who live there and work there. There is no problem with them at all. It's people in Gaza Strip and some West Bank areas who don't want peaceful coexistence with Israel. They want to destroy Israel. They want to kill every Israelis. And I'll tell you, while they're talking about it, okay, I think Israel made a strategic mistake by leaving Gaza Strip. They should have been there, and they should have controlled that area of Israel. Unfortunately, they get out, and they missed this unprovoked attack. But there will be consequences. We all know that.
I think
Jacoby, before you respond, substitute Israel and the Hamas in Gaza with Mexico and Texas, okay? And have this going over the southern border, because I'm not convinced they're not coming over the southern border from Iran. I'm not convinced of that. Okay, but let's say we got all those rockets, and they came over the southern border, and they took women and babies, and innocent men even, hostages over to Mexico. What would your response be?
Oh, you would start finding what caused that. Why? What is the reason that they killed 2,000 innocent Americans?
So am I gonna answer
reason.
So here's the question: can I answer, or does Sasha
Yes,
get to answer for me?
Please answer.
I can answer now. Okay. So again, yes, this happened. And even if it were, in your analogy, if Mexico were to do that to Texas or Mexico, yes, there would be a retaliation. I'm not saying that there is no use for retaliation, but we still have to find the answer.
Yes.
We still have to figure out the root cause. Because if
Jacoby, you're right. But sometimes the root cause is, I want you dead. That's the root cause. I won't be happy till you're dead.
Again, Lee, are you saying every Palestinian is bad?
No,
Yes.
I'm saying every Hamas.
Thank you.
A lot of them are the ones that support Hamas.
Wait, stop. You said you agree that every Palestinian is not bad. What is going on right now? Do we go
Jetovi,
in your
there will be,
analogy? Do we go in? Hold on,
Jetovi,
Sasha, wait.
Jetovi, you
Sasha,
know what is the
wait. Let me
collateral
finish.
damage?
Sasha. Hold on. Now, in your analogy, are you saying that if that were to happen in Mexico and Texas, we should go in and kill every Hispanic person in Mexico?
No, the part I'm
That
struggling
is
with,
the point.
I get that. But the part I'm struggling with is nobody said anything. You have sympathizers. You have people, they're participants. They should be annihilated. Okay? Annihilated. You have people who are sympathizers. Sympathizers with terrorists? What are you, sick?
No,
And then you
let
do
me
have some
find
innocent
out.
people who are trying to fight it. I get that. And those
Let
who,
me
for
learn
those, I
something.
feel sorry for.
Jetovi,
Take on a
question to
smaller
you.
scale,
So
even if you
before
take on a
America
smaller
would
scale and look
retaliate
at the
against
criminals that
Mexico
the
or
people
attack
that get
United
locked up in
States,
jail, for example,
America
here,
has to
they're
take time
individuals
to
that
figure
sympathize
out
with those individuals that get locked up in jail.
cause.
Because,
Why
for
is the
example,
Mexican
you have
attack
people.
Hold on a
Here,
second. I
Let's
want to come back to
analyze.
hold on a second,
Let's
Sasha. I want
find
to come
the
back to something that
cause.
Lee
There
just said.
must be a legitimate cause for Mexican to attack Americans. So let's not retaliate before we'll find out what was the
who said
cause.
that,
Because
Sasha?
if you retaliate first, there will be a collateral damage. We
Sasha,
want to avoid that, right?
Sasha, you're better at chess than actually analyzing what I'm saying. What I said exactly is retaliation happens, but we still have to find out the root cause.
Who
Did I not?
cares about the root cause when you have murderers? You have
Because if you do
the
not
people
understand the
who
root
has
cause, you
nothing
only
to
create
do.
more terrorism.
They are
And
not
then that
human
creates a
beings,
constant
period.
cycle
You
of
have
death.
to exterminate them. They are not human beings. I don't care
Hold
about
on a
the
second.
cause.
Hold on a
Sasha,
You have
second.
to
Hold on a
go
second.
and
Hold on a second.
exterminate
you're
these
acting just like a
idiots.
terrorist.
Sasha, let me
Period.
get Sasha. Hold on a second. I want to understand something because I'm trying to understand this entire argument and everything along those lines. And I think there are a lot of things that need to be analyzed and understand. I said that before and everything. But Lee, let me get back to you and everything. If somebody is a understands the reason that people do attacks and all along those lines, and therefore might be considered a sympathizer, you're saying that they don't have a right to having an understanding for why people might feel the way that they do. I mean, if that's the case, then you would have problems with me because I definitely had some favor and some understanding of why the Black Panthers did what they did and why AIM did what they did and everything. AIM being the American
No,
Indian.
I get that, Mark. There's a difference between understanding why they did it and condoning and cheering the action and their method. The means don't justify the ends or the other way around. Yeah, okay?
No
Just
one
because you disagree with somebody, you have political differences, doesn't mean everything's on board. You know, you can and just kidnapping the babies. They have babies in cages now. They kidnap off the kibbutz semen off and in the cities. They took women, they took girls, and they're parading them around in cages. And you have people cheering, say, "Yes, you should have done more." Where do I care about their cause?
again, we have to understand.
No, we don't.
Yes,
Stop
we do.
it.
Yes,
Stop
we do.
it. We
Can I
don't
finish?
understand
Can I
that.
finish, Sasha?
There
Can I
was-
finish even what I was going to
There
start
was
to
a
say?
horrible attack
Can
against
you-
the
can you
country
finish,
which
Sasha?
has
Can I-
all
Sasha?
rights to defend it.
Sasha,
And it will inflict
if we
horror
do not
on
understand
Gaza,
the
and there
root
will be no
cause
more
which
Hamas.
triggered this,
Period.
And
We
Sasha,
do not
I want to come
understand-
back to something you said earlier because you said that, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, you visited this country. I did not visit the country, and I will admit that I did not visit the country. But you said that Hamas was voted in. It was my understanding that they took over control in the attacks when they were actually going against the people that actually represent Palestine. Because it's my understanding there is actually a president that is the head of the Palestinian Authority. So they actually literally took over the Gaza Strip. And there were some efforts by Israel to make some economic gestures because apparently there's not all that great of a money in that area. So they did make some efforts to get them into Israel to do some
Mark,
work
United
in construction.
Support Gaza and sends it billions of dollars. What else do they need? All they want is to destroy Israel and kill all the Jews.
Sasha, don't go there with me because don't go there with me because I've heard you literally say that you want to kill every Russian that ever lived. So don't go there with me.
Sasha, you act exactly the way that's causing the domestic terrorism. You are the one calling for the death of people who are innocent.
Jacoby?
No,
Jacoby?
no, I didn't call that.
Yes, you did.
Jacoby,
You did.
No.
can I explain the conflict real quickly? The conflict in Israel and the Palestinians, if Israel put down their arms, if Palestinians put down their arms today, there'd be peace tomorrow. If Israel put down their arms today, there'd be no Israel tomorrow. That's all you need to know.
You're not listening to what I'm trying to explain to you.
Or it wasn't clear when you said it.
I will try again and state it this way. So again, reaction happens. That is fine. But we still need to figure out what caused the trigger in the first place. What started the fire? We can
Jacoby, you don't know? Jacoby, they don't want Israel to exist. That's it.
This is why I'm saying you're not listening, because you're
No. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it. It's that simple. It's that simple.
Finish what I'm stating, Lee, because
go ahead, but it's that simple. Floor is yours.
Again, we'll use an analogy. We still have these forest fires going. We are reacting to those forest fires and putting out those fires, correct? If we're putting out those fires, do we still not look for what triggered that fire?
Nobody cares.
100%.
Nobody needs to
That's a
know.
good point.
Sasha, Lee and I are having a good discussion right now.
Is
Sasha, we already understand you want to kill everybody. So
No,
please
I
wait.
don't. No, I
Yes,
don't.
you've already stated that 2 and 3 times. You've done that with Mark. You've done that with me. We understand your position.
Mark, you got
Lee
the clip?
and I are having a good discussion.
Hold
So
on, hang on,
again,
see if I can find it.
we're talking about a forest fire. If that forest fire is going off, we have that reaction of putting out that forest fire. But we also need to figure out what triggered that forest fire in hopes that we do not have this forest fire come back again. So in that analogy, this came out of nowhere. Nobody was expecting this, because that's why the Israeli the area,
Iron Dome?
yes, that's why that area was not protected, and that's what it wasn't even being monitored, because nobody had expected it coming at that moment or at that time. But it happened. So yes,
Jacoby?
reaction happens, which
There's a
is
difference
warranted.
between not expecting it at that time and not expecting it in the future.
No, I'm saying again, not expecting it at that time. There are discussions constantly going. There's still discussions going between Israel and
Why?
Gaza Strip.
Why are the discussions? Why can't they just get along? Why can't they just kiss and make up and be friends?
That's what the discussions are for.
No.
To get
Why is there this disagreement between them? What's the ultimate issue there? Why is there an issue between Gaza, which Israel pulled out of Gaza? They left everything there, the farms, everything, and they pulled
Lee,
out.
You just asked
Why is there a
can't-
problem?
You just asked why they can't get along. I told you
Right.
there are discussions, and
About
that's
what?
why they have been getting along, because they've been discussing. And then out of nowhere, this happens. What triggered that? Do we know? No, we do not. Reaction is warranted. Yes, come back strong. React is fine. But still, what triggered it? Because if we don't know that trigger, then you know what? When things settle down again, do we know what triggered that last time? No. Could it trigger it in the future? Yes. So why
Hey, Lee,
not
Jacoby?
learn what the trigger is?
Have you ever heard
Hold on a
the
second.
expression?
Lee, hold on a second.
Mark, before you play
Lee, hold on a second.
it'll take 5
What did you
seconds. 5
say?
seconds.
No,
5 seconds. I'm sorry. I just say whatever you want. Just Toby, 5 seconds. There's an expression that people cheer: "From the river to the sea." Do you know what that means?
The floor is yours.
Do you know what it means? River to the sea. Have you heard that?
The floor is yours. Explain what that means.
It means that there are people who do not want the state of Israel to exist. Period. Mark, what you were going to say. Go ahead.
There are people
your
that
word
don't
you
want the
used was
Palestinians to
stump.
exist either
Stump.
within Israel, because there is a whole concept of a notion of Zionism, and we haven't even gone into that, where there are people that are very reactionary in Israel, and that is something that's also part of the conversation as well. So there is definitely the Zionist element. There's definitely the element of those that would say that there are parts of
Mark?
Israel, including Israel leadership, that are a police state,
Mark?
and everything along those lines.
Okay. Are they going and kidnapping women, raping them, kidnapping babies, elderly, slaughtering
Yes, there
them
have been cases of
indiscriminately,
Israel doing that
pizza
as well.
shops, kindergartens?
Yes, there have been
Your-
incidences of Israel attacking and kidnapping and doing the same thing.
I'd be amazed to hear that. That to me, that's news. I never heard of Israel going over to Palestinians and kidnapping babies and women and raping them and butchering them indiscriminately.
There have been cases of
Attacking
Israel attacks that were
terrorists,
not
yes.
explained and all along those lines, and I can find evidence of those. If you like me to, I can bring some clips from
I would
both
like you to.
the past and the current. But that has definitely been
There's
something.
no moral
There's been a whole
equivalency over here.
around the Israel state as well, and and how that is a police state.
So you've got to also realize a lot when we went to, say, for example, when we went to Vietnam, the U.S. went to Vietnam. Do you know there were soldiers over there raping women as well? U.S. soldiers?
And that was disgusting. It should not be condoned or excused.
So, wait. So we agree there.
Yes.
So when Mark is bringing up the situation in an area of conflict, there are times when there are Israeli soldiers that do go over and rape Palestinian women.
There's a big difference. First of all, I haven't heard of it.
Wait, do you agree with
There's a big difference. And stop it. There's a big difference.
Listen, I'm just trying to get agreement. Do you agree that happens in an area of conflict?
No, you can't do that.
There's a soldier that does bad things. It doesn't.
Jacoby, if there's a soldier, an American soldier, does something bad in Korea, is it bad? 100%. But he doesn't have the blessing of the American government telling him to do it.
I'm not
yes,
saying
you are.
he has the blessing of Israel to do that.
But they do. The Hamas does.
No,
That's the blessing of who? There's a lot of people that are outraged even within Palestine. So I don't think that you can
not
say
the leaders, not Iran.
Lee,
Mark, play the clip, please.
Lee, if those U.S. soldiers that went over and did that, and that we are all disgusted with, do you know that those in Vietnam thought that they had the blessing, and that is what represented America?
But what they never saw was Americans in the streets cheering it.
That.
No.
They thought that. It's because it happened to them. And who did they see? It's the same reason. We'll even go domestically when we talk about where are the black fathers, where are the black this, and where are the black that. When a black individual commits a crime, why is there so many, why do we turn around and say black people are like this? Because they take that stereotype of what they've seen when they see this black criminal and they put that plaster to it and say, this is what black people are. That's what happens. That's what happened in Vietnam when they saw the American soldiers who just went in there and killed their individuals and raped their women. That's what they saw. So that's what created that problem. All I'm stating is what happens. It's not what we did, but it's what that person did, and that caused that problem. That caused that explosion of anger towards America, towards these individuals. So that's what happened. And so when this person in Israel, in Palestine, sees an Israeli soldier commit a crime in Palestine and doesn't get punished for it, that's what creates that domestic terrorism. It's a problem.
So that's a big difference. The Israelis get punished for it. The Palestinians get rewarded.
What triggered it? Was it an Israeli group that started this? That wasn't a part, just a soldier who was bucking up? I don't know. We don't know, but we need a reaction. We need that reaction. Nobody condones the terrorism. Everybody sees Hamas.
That's not true. Rashid Tlaib did not denounce it.
I'm talking about we.
Wait a minute. She did denounce it. Both her and AOC.
Rashid
Tlaib. That's what I meant when I said that they were
AOC
that they did not endorse it or denounce it forcefully enough. That's the complaint I've heard. Because all three of them, all four, or however many members of the squad.
No, the other ones did. The other ones did, Mark, in fairness.
And
that's what I did not hear.
And then there's that analogy.
I heard the other ones. I did not hear hers.
You can even take that same analogy where when something isn't acceptable, you place it on everybody. That is what is going on in politics, and that's the worst thing in the world. When you brought up AOC, you talked about you're saying AOC or this. Well,
AOC said it was despicable. But that's not quote verbatim. She called it out.
Rashida Tlaib,
I believe she held back.
When she doesn't say it well enough, the GOP is saying that, the Democrats are all supporting and sympathizing with Hamas. Nobody is. Absolutely nobody. But you know what gets put out there? It's that same thing. And you know what gets stuck in people's heads? Rather than listening to the actual individuals, they get on this whole high horse. Well, the Democrats love Hamas and aren't protecting this, and they're sympathizing. Oh, AOC said this. Well, all the Democrats. That's not the way it's supposed to be. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. And that's the whole thing about it, is when something bad happens, yes, we're all in agreement. It is bad. We all agree that it's bad. But just because somebody wants to figure out what started the fire, so this fire cannot happen in the future, that's not sympathizing.
What makes you think that you can really find out what caused that, other than the idea of killing all Jews and destroy the state of Israel? What else could trigger that? Give me some examples at least.
There are plenty of examples, just as I tried to explain to you, where maybe somebody crossed the line over in Gaza and did not get punished. Maybe a group of people did that in the Gaza Strip to some Palestinians,
but what
and then they wanted to.
Okay,
you asked me for some examples, and then you're going to jump over top and say that doesn't happen.
Jetov, you have 20.
And then here's the crazy part: is you're already saying that Gaza, the Palestinians want to kill everybody in Israel, but you're turning around and saying we should kill everybody or all the Palestinians. How is that different?
I didn't say that all Palestinians have to be killed. Not at all. I want to tell you, you heard about something what calls real politics, okay? That real politics proposed by certain people like Professor Joe Mearsheimer and others. What they're thinking is that, look, Russia is extremely strong country with its military or so on. Ukraine is much lesser country with not a strong military or so on. So the real politics dictates that Ukraine has to be very submissive to Russia and always asking Russia, what would you like us to do? Would you like us to dance, jump or something? Okay, we will jump, we will do everything what you want us to do. This way, Russia wouldn't attack Ukraine, hopefully. Maybe it still would. Now, same situation is in Israel and Palestinians. Israel is extremely strong state. It has a strong military. It's existing for last 80 years only because it prevailed over all organized attacks by Egypt and Jordan and Syria and just name it, Iran, Iraq at one point, so on. Okay. And it continues right now too. So if we take real politics approach and say that Israel is very, very strong and powerful, Palestinians are very weak. So when the weak attack, you see, Ukraine didn't attack Russia. Russia attacked Ukraine as a very strong power. They attacked Ukraine. Now, what's happened here is that the very weak entity like Hamas, in spite of the fact that Hamas is supported by Russia, by Iran, by many other forces, they're still weak compared to Israel. So they cannot face Israel on the battlefield. Absolutely not. So they do the heinous attacks, killing civilians. Already, Israel must defend itself because, like it always does, that's going to happen this time. But this time it's going to be different, that Hamas will no longer exist in that region. They can operate in Africa, they can operate in Australia, God forbid, and some other places, not in Israel proper. Hamas will never be able to operate. They will be annihilated. And those Palestinians who want to continue to live in Gaza, America supports them, sending billions of dollars. They have no problems, absolutely. Now, Israel, of course, is supplying the electricity, humanitarian aids, the food, and so on. Of course, for now, Israel stopped supplying all of that. Okay, so it creates some kind of a hardship, and you may say that because of that, because Israel stopped to supporting Gaza, so there will be some, unfortunately, collateral damage, some Palestinians who are not guilty of anything, they may die. Oh my God. So what can you do about that? Maybe they should ask Hamas never, ever do these horrible attacks against Israel, because what's happened is, okay, so they killed about 1,000 Israelis, but there are about 2,000 Palestinians will be killed. So what's the use? What's the benefit to Palestinians from all this? What's happened, if any?
Hey, Sasha, what would you say if you found out, and I don't know this for a fact, but if you found out that there were attacks by Israel onto Palestine before this attack and everything, wouldn't it be comparable to what you just said about Ukraine, if that was the case? And like I said, I don't know when the attack started, but I do know that there have been reports of Israeli attacks on Palestinian territories way before this attack took place and everything. So if that is the case, and like I said, we'd have to study the timeline and look at the various timelines and everything. But if that was the case, and there was that parallel that existed, what was your response be?
You want to talk? Oh, you want to talk? Continue. Go ahead.
I just asked you the question.
Okay. So you're talking about attack. Is it real attack, or you're talking about that they could or may happen?
I'm talking about real attacks. There have been accusations of Israel making attacks on Palestine way before this attack took place and everything. Because definitely, Netanyahu has definitely been seen as more of a kind of conservative person out of the Israel politics versus some of the other politicians that existed there.
Sasha, before you answer, Mark, can you define with the word attack? What do you mean by attack? When Israeli attacks the Palestinians in Gaza, what do you mean by that?
Just to point out, this is from the CNN, from one of the CNN reports that were out there. Fighting between the two, and this is one of the reasons why the escalation happened. Fighting between the two sides. Hamas' highly coordinated assault, which began Saturday morning, was unprecedented in its scale and scope and came on the 50th anniversary of the 1973 war in which the Arab states blitzed Israel on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the Jewish calendar. Fighting between the two sides has surged in the past 2 years. The violence has been driven by frequent Israeli military raids in Palestinian towns and cities, which Israel has said are a necessary response to a rising number of attacks by Palestinian militants on Israelis. And so there were attacks from the Israeli military in Palestine.
Because
hold on, wait. If we go by you and Sasha's logic, that because doesn't matter.
No, it does. No, it does matter.
Why does that because matter now? But when I said we need to figure out the root cause.
Because when you're sitting in your house with an AK-47 shooting people outside, and then the police come to stop it, it's not a moral equivalency of you shooting the police and the children and the police coming to try to attack you, to restrain you.
I just point out that there were military raids.
Yes, on military targets.
Not always military targets.
No, they're not going after kindergartens and pizza shops, Mark. Don't do that. They're not doing that. They're not kidnapping babies.
Lee, it says
they're targeted raids.
It says Palestinian towns and cities. It does not say military targets.
Why not? Why read the fine print? Joey, come on. They're not going out there randomly, going for beaches and bars.
If you attack an apartment because you, and this is I read literally, and I heard this yesterday.
They're doing military targets, Mark. These people they use
5 members of Hamas.
Mark, do me a favor. Mark, do me a favor.
Wait.
Where you go in there we're not talking about like a Saddam Hussein raid where you are particularly going after the individual. But if you drop a bomb on an
that's what they're doing. They're not dropping bombs indiscriminately in schools. Come on, Mark. You know better.
There was an attack. There was a couple of days ago where they dropped it on an apartment because they believed that the apartment was where those people were based at. There were other people in there.
And what did they do before they do that? No other army would do that. They drop leaflets and they tell people, we're going to blow up this building. Please leave.
Lee, I'm telling you.
There's warning, Mark.
I'm
Yeah,
no,
Mark,
no,
play
the second clip.
no,
Mark, do me a favor. It's less than 3 minutes. Play the second clip at the UN.
Lee,
You have 6
again,
minutes.
Toby needs to see the second clip.
you stated for a fact that we do not need. You stated that we do not need to know the root cause.
No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. I said the root cause is they want them dead. That's it. It's that simple.
You argued with me that you didn't need the root cause.
No, not with normal people. We're not dealing with normal people. We're not dealing with normal people with Western values.
Again,
They want Israel dead. That's it. It's that simple. That's the root cause.
Lee. Again,
Mark, do me a favor. Play the second clip, please. The UN watch.
Clip isn't a video. It's a like a news clip because it doesn't come up as a video. I can play that first clip and everything, but I think if I'm looking at the clips right, but let me just.
so again, we need the retaliation.
Oh, I see what you're
That's
doing.
fine.
No, the second clip. It's a YouTube video. It's a YouTube video.
I see it now. I have to make a copy of it first. That's the whole
These
thing.
these Israeli military raids were on Palestinian towns and cities, and that's been going on. And there were responses on both sides. But according to you and Sasha's logic, is that we don't need to know why.
Sasha, what is Israel supposed to do when they get? What are they supposed to do when missiles come in? Just send balloons?
Well, we have to find out what is the cause of that. They
You
5,000
literally stated and you're making jokes about needing to know the root cause, and that's the sad part.
Okay.
You misunderstand. Mark, play. But I'll let Mark go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying I'm trying to get the video loaded. It takes a while to do this. So
And again, I gave you right here, fighting between the two sides has surged in the past 2 years. The violence has been driven by frequent Israeli military raids on Palestinian towns and cities, which Israelis have said are a necessary response to a rising number of attacks by Palestinian militants on Israel.
So what bothers you here?
The problem is, again, the Palestinians the Palestinians seem to be responding to the military raids.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not response. To start such
And so we don't know the root cause then.
This is not response to anything. It's a absolutely
The
standard.
violence has been driven. The term driven is used.
Punished. Okay, that's a very simple thing.
And again, you don't care about the root cause. So the Israeli military raids, it doesn't matter what they're doing there.
What happened? It's
no,
not
we're gonna play that video that Lee wanted us to see. So
Thank you, Mark.
no problem.
We
Well,
need
I
to
think
figure
we'll play the
out
video.
what's going on.
Israel, the occupying power, continues with its colonial policy and its daily violations. It continues to abuse, to arbitrarily detain, to carry out ethnic cleansing, steal land and natural resources, uproot trees, steal money, Israeli activity to Judaize Jerusalem, demolition of homes, confiscation of land and property, spoiling of natural resources.
Racist violations perpetrated by Israel.
Israel continues to commit various forms of human rights violations in Palestine.
Israel, the occupying power, is advancing in its efforts of mass colonization and continued apartheid. Put an end to this colonialist regime.
Apartheid, atrocities and massive destruction inflicted on the Palestinian people.
War crimes, crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing, and state terror.
Thank you. United Nations Watch.
Shukran, Sayyid Rais. I take the floor on behalf of the UN Watch. My name is Mus'ab Hassan Youssef. I grew up in Ramallah as a member of Hamas. I address the words to the Palestinian Authority, which claims to be the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. I ask, where does your legitimacy come from? The Palestinian people did not elect you, and they did not appoint you to represent them. You are self-appointed. Your accountability is not to your own people. This is evidenced by your own total violation for their human rights. In fact, the Palestinian individual and their human development is the least of your concerns. You kidnap Palestinian students from campus and torture them in your jails. You torture your political rivals. The suffering of the Palestinian people is the outcome of your selfish political interest. You are the greatest enemy of the Palestinian people. If Israel did not exist, you would have no one to blame. Take responsibility for the outcome of your own actions. You fan the flames of conflict to maintain your abusive power. Finally, you use this platform to mislead the international community, to mislead the Palestinian society, to believe that Israel is responsible for the problem you create. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
He actually brought up some of the same things that actually everybody, including myself and Jatovi, were bringing up, which is that there are violations, because he actually mentioned some of the things that were felt that were being done by Israel as well as the Palestinian Authority. So he actually mentioned that.
Mark, stop the nonsense as well. You cannot compare what the Hamas did in the last 2 days and what Israel did for the last 15 years or 40 years or 75 years. It's not comparable at all. What Hamas did, they showed their...
Nobody is condoning what Hamas did, but at the same time, I'm looking at the entire picture and everything along those lines, and I think that there is the story that has to be told. Don't tell me what I got to think when I have friends on both sides of this conversation. And for all you know, like I said, my
No. This
pretty much
unspeakable.
I pretty much mother-in-law, because they've been together forever and everything, is of Jewish background. So don't assume that you don't know what I'm thinking and everything. So don't make assumptions on that part.
So Lee, what you had us play answered what the root cause of the Palestinian people have been fighting against. Is that what you just had us play?
Say again?
So the video that you shared is the reason that the Palestinian people are fighting back against.
No, it's not Palestinian people. Sorry, it's Hamas.
I'm not asking you a question. Well, let's stay in your lane right now. Let's ask Lee right now.
England.
I'm asking Lee real quick. Sasha, hold on. You can get your turn a little bit.
Toby, I'm not sure if this is a question you asked, but are some of the Palestinians suffering under Hamas rule? 100%. They kill their own just as much.
I'm going to close out early because I've got to run. But it's a great show. There's a lot of both sides of arguments we need to listen to. This is a very unstable situation, but there's always another perspective. There's always another point of view. And I'm going to do my homework.
I'm sorry, Steve. I disagree with you. There will be no other point in the view of what horrendous act was committed by Hamas. This is a terrorist organization. You don't have to find, okay, here is this point.
Everybody agrees that Hamas is a terrorist organization.
I agree with that.
Everybody agrees that what happened was a tragedy.
Right, Sasha, I agree with you. But the fact is that there are Palestinians that keep bringing back the fact they've been displaced from their land, that these, the whole core issue. And so maybe you're right. Maybe they're separate issues, but they're being intertwined and they're confused. Yes, absolutely. As the host of this show, I absolutely do not authorize or accept any terrorism of any form or fashion. And let's be clear, Hamas has killed innocent civilians. They have kidnapped grandmothers and grandparents. They have attacked civilians out of hate and just pure genocide. So we can't say that they're good people, nor can we justify what they've done. So I agree with Sasha on that.
It was 2 years in preparation. It was not that somebody decided to attack and kill a person or two. It was a very meticulously
planned, yes.
And there must be a
folks. They're calling it Israel's 9/11. We're going to
Israel. There is this point of view and that point of view. We have to hear both sides. There will be no both sides.
We're going to continue this conversation.
Period.
We're going to continue this conversation. I want to thank you for being with us today. I will not be attending economics probably next week. Elections locally here for the city of Cary. And it's also Fire Prevention Week. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, what that means in the U.S., preventing fires. Thank you. I'll be back tomorrow for another edition. Be safe wherever you are.
No problem. We'll get ready to go up to the economic show as well, and then media later on. But yep.